And we're back to Division 1. We got Kayak going up against the GTFOs. We have on the left side now a best of 3 series. We got Master Chips on Blaze, map number 1, Cursed Hollow. Razak on Murden, Arion is playing Tracer. J-Hard on Greymane, and Link on Anduin. As over to the right side of the map, it is GTFOs with Soaking on Sonya, Hunter Orc on Brightwing, Cloudy's Troy on Falstad, and Fish on Diablo, not Uther today, with Madron on Hanzo. So once again, Division 1 of HeroesLounge.gg. They dropped Division 1 Plus, and so this is the highest division within Heroes Lounge. That's also why you're seeing a lot of the players that are probably familiar from prize pool tournaments that we had in the past year. And honestly, this year there are some pretty solid teams. We already talked a bit about Darkmore, Kazu, and even Nomi playing in some of the German teams, but there are a lot of players that are just banding together to have a little bit of fun here. There's not really any prize money on the line, so this is more so for the guys, you know, to practice some stuff and to just have some fun. And it's pretty entertaining, which also means that occasionally when you're looking towards players like Nick, for example, you get some heroes that you might not necessarily expect and just prepares for his newest thing. But either way, already a stun up at the top. Tracer was trying to come in after Blaze started with the jet propulsion in the hopes of delivering some extra damage, which hasn't happened so far. This is a best of 3 series, so keep that in mind. Map number 1, Cursed Hollow. For me personally, always a highlight. I actually already said that in the past when the first Heroes of the Storm tournament that I ever commentated was in the first alpha version that they released, and back then we didn't even had custom games. So the way that the games would happen is you would have the top teams, most of the top players were at that point in time in a Discord channel, and so everybody was told don't queue in the matchmaking, and only the 2 teams that were supposed to play against each other, those 2 teams would then queue. And because the player pool was pretty limited and there was a clear distinction between the top players and the mediocre ones, those teams would then usually match against each other, and that's how you would get those tournament matches started. The players would save the replays, send them to me, and then I would commentate them. So it was actually a pretty interesting setup. But back in the day also what was true is that it was only Cursed Hollow pretty much. So we had really tournaments, even when there were a few more maps added, like Haunted Mines, where you had Cursed Hollow played 3 times in a row over the course of a best of 3 series. So things were very different back then. But ever since then, the map has held a pretty, like a special spot in my heart, because I really like it. There's a lot of tactical options here. You can get some of the tributes you can go for the boss and stuff. So there's a lot of things that can really happen with that. But yeah, those were the good old days where we still had hope for the game, you know? When Blizzard still had an opportunity to work on the things that needed work. And then it took them, I believe, 2 years to put in like a draft mode. So yeah, it was pretty embarrassing. They released the game without a draft mode, so it took in total, I believe, 2 years. And in those 2 years, what would happen is that at every single tournament, you would have third-party websites where both of the captains of each team would get a link that they could log in, and then they would do the entire draft on those websites. That even happened in the first official offline tournament for Heroes of the Storm that Blizzard hosted, because they didn't have an in-game draft mode that they could use to draft the heroes. So yeah, it's just sad. But yeah, it is what it is. It's a shame, honestly. Yeah, the game with the objective system and, you know, the constant action that you have from the beginning had so much potential, and they just wasted all of it. But as you can see, exactly that action is already happening here. So we're only 3 minutes into the game and we have a wall opened up. We had the first kill. Players are, of course, already starting to fight for those objectives. The first tribute has now been taken. And as we're heading into level 7 talents, things are gonna spice up a little bit. It's actually also quite interesting because initially I came from Dota, obviously starting with Warcraft 3 as my first game that I commentated and entered the esports scene with. I played a lot of Dota 1 and also a fair amount of Dota 2, actually way too much Dota 2. But so when I first played Heroes, it was interesting because I looked at the talent system, I was super skeptical. I was like, what do you mean I don't have items? You serious? Like I don't have items? Really? What is this shit? And the talent system kind of won me over. It's way better than I initially expected it to be. And after putting some thought into it, I was just like, okay, this is really not too bad. And the objectives in particular eliminated one of the biggest criticisms that I had with Dota and any other MOBA, namely that you have a lot of games that are just farming simulators for 30 minutes and then the game is decided by whether or not you were able to farm properly or not. So yeah, Heroes made away with a lot of this, so if they would have played this out a little bit better. And yeah, it's I'm just getting sad when I think about how good this game could have been. But yeah. So the second tribute gets now Channel 2. I gotta say, Kayak, they've always been one of those teams that were not only trying to get into the top 8, but they were always nibbling in the hopes of getting into the top 4. That was true for a lot of the tournaments, like the X Cup, for example. So it's definitely a team with history. They're doing fairly okay now, so they're controlling the objective with Greymane, the mercenary camps. When it comes to the objective, they already got 2 of the tributes against the 0 here that we have on the red team side. And, well, let's see if they can maybe also take some of these structures down, particularly, of course, the forts. And down at the bottom of the map, falls that? Ah, no chance. Even with Brightwing helping out. The only thing that Brightwing accomplished is that they're now getting probably 2 kills instead of 1. Ooh, not even. Yeah, the fruit fly infestation. You can't get rid of it that quickly. So Trashwing survived, but level 10 is now ready for the blue team. And guys, that is a curse. Unless they fuck this up big time, it's gonna be a curse, and this is very, very risky. If this is scouted, then they are absolutely screwed. But instead, we have each team taking their own boss, so it is an exchange. And at the bottom of the map, Blaze is putting some extra pressure onto the fort. I gotta admit that I don't really understand what exactly they're doing here, because they just allowed them to get to level 10, so I really think this was a bit of a dumb decision making here by Kayak. I think if they would have read this a bit better, they could have gotten so far ahead here. They could have gotten the curse for free, and then they could have gotten the boss at the top. So instead it's now a boss taken by each team, and well, they're losing this one. I mean, I'm sorry guys, but that was pretty bad. That was a really nice combo on the other hand. So nicely done by the GTFOs. Soaking goes down, but they were able to take the first one. And well, with that we have a trade in kills, but they are aiming for a few more. And Master Chips is in real trouble. Greymane, alright, he gets out. But the tribute is now taken. Hanzo dies, but he dies for a good cause. But I really don't understand what the thought process here was. That was pretty bad decision-making by Team Kayak. They had nearly an entire level lead as the tribute spawns. They can easily get the tribute. If they would have checked the boss up here, they could have also taken the boss. So instead of taking their own boss down here, just make sure that when the tribute is announced, you make your way over to the tribute position, you double-check what's happening here, you can literally invade, steal the boss away, get the curse. Then you have a curse going on against the red team. You have one boss pushing. They have nothing. You can still decide to take the second boss at the bottom of the map or just push the lanes out. So they had plenty of opportunities here. I'm not quite sure what happened there. Maybe they didn't realize when the spawn was happening, or they were a little bit slower grabbing their own boss at the bottom of the map. But that was definitely... yeah, that was definitely a bit rusty. So I can only imagine that they were pretty pissed about this as well, because they could have ran away with that game. Instead, they are still ahead in the experience, but now there's a freebie for the red team, so the GTFOs are in and to easily take one. That arrow. Rumor has it that arrow is still flying to the day. It's hitting Florida any second now. But yeah, it's still 5 kills to 1, so the blue team, they're ahead by a talon, by a level. They've taken a fort down, so things are still looking pretty okay here. But time will obviously tell how this is going to continue. Falsat is flying and is a little bit late over here. Huh? The chicken delivery. And Blaze is just pushing the lanes again, and this could cost them another fort. So the red team still looking for kills. They're fully 5-manning the bot lane. And they're not doing anything over here, so it's just going to result in them losing another fort in the middle. And at the same time, Blaze is now pushing the top lane out a little bit, where we're also going to see the next tribute spawn. With a 2-level advantage and a talent lead, I would assume that Team Kayak is going to have a bit of an easier time grabbing this one. But the red team very likely has to face off against this, because we're talking about a curse right now. So they're going into the fight, and yeah, Muradin, I'm not so sure, my friend. Like, hoppity hop. Okay, so he gets hit again. Here comes Sonya. Gets speared. Has no ult. And yeah, gets into the bunker. But they are forced into the choke point fight. What is this? Oh boy, the blue team, they need coffee. I'm telling you, they definitely need coffee. Where's the juicy caffeine? Link is trying to get the channel through. I mean, that's some copium right there. That is not happening, my friend. That one's already over. You just lost that curse. That's the second time now that they screwed up, and they're still obviously trying to salvage the situation, but by now the GTFOs have their own level 13, so that talent advantage that they were running earlier is now completely gone. They're buying some time for Tracer, but definitely not enough. Brightwing on a mana run, and now that Muradin gets caught, has to pop Avatar. Anduin, the pullout king, he's here, pulls him out of harm's way with another quick trade, but that's obviously a curse. So, a little bit sloppy from Team Kayak. Not only the first fight, but also the second. I'm telling you, these guys, they need some proper caffeine over here. I mean, pick your poison. If it's an energy drink, it's an energy drink. If it's caffeine, it's caffeine. But you should chuck that stuff down before game number 1 happens and not after it. Now, we still have them a little bit ahead in experience. They hold this additional level, which is actually pretty respectable. Because the GTFOs, they run Falstad. Falstad and Brightwing should be able to get that side lane sold. But instead, it is the blue team that is continuously ahead. Now, the curse could change all of that now. Let's see how much they're going to lose. They already lost the top forward. Down at the bottom of the map, Falstad is now pushing. Sonya maybe a little bit too far out. She should die. Now that everybody's jumping on her. Alright, space created. Space created. Fully intentional, obviously. Down she goes. The double pull is now in for Anduin. 33,000 damage for Tracer. Curse is over, and they lost something. It's not too bad. As long as they're getting some kills, yeah, it's fine. Hanzo goes down. The soy boy is dead with his hipster beard, so he's eliminated. And now that we have also a kill on Diablo, it's kind of worth it, honestly. They got a lot here. And now they can go for the boss, too. It's kind of respectable. Team Kayak always coming back here? Yeah, we saw that, my friend. We definitely did. Falstad still in the middle, but they're now getting the boss. So despite the fact that they just lost the curse, they are still in the driver's seat. 8 kills to 2 is pretty good here. But eventually they're going to run out of chances if this continues. Now, you already made 2 little boo-boos. Now you have to make sure that you are going to play this out a bit more stable. So, yeah, buckle down. And let's run that show. Top side, that's where we're going to have the next fort destroyed, which means that the entire outer ring is now gone. They still hold on to the fort in the middle. So structurally, it's pretty similar. With the double boss play that they have, they could now also try and push to the bot lane in hopes to, well, damage to keep a little bit. I doubt they're going to get the entire thing. But we'll see if that is going to be the play. Also, keep in mind, there's another tribute spawning in just a few seconds, and that tribute would give them a curse. So, once again, the GTFOs are in a bit of an awkward spot where they have to figure out, okay, how do we play this? Do we just defend against the boss? Do we go for the tribute once it's announced? I don't think they can do both. 2-level gap, by the way, so even the stats advantage that we're seeing for Team Kayak is pretty alright. But the hits keep coming, so the boss gets very quickly chunked down. They're not pushing with it either. So, I'm a little bit confused what the game plan right now is. They just force them down to the bottom of the map, but there's nothing to take on the map. So it's not like they could just go for another camp. There's no tribute that was available. So I feel like that was a little bit wasted. They buy themselves some time, they push the lanes out, I guess. But I think they could, with a 2-level advantage, still have poked a bit. I assume that they are hoping to get to level 20 as quickly as possible. But they will still have to fight that next fight with even talents. Or at least I would be shocked if we would see anything else here. Tribute spawn is now coming up. Arrow, nicely dodged, well done. But then the gust comes in. Greymane isn't here yet. And Anduin gets popped. So does Tracer. Double kill, Falstad goes down. Gets murdered by Greymane, and they're also going for Brightwing, so maybe they can still salvage that fight, especially now that Hanzo is dead. Once again, they're pulling a little bit ahead here, but Greymane is low, and Blaze is also in trouble. Both of the frontliners for the red team are still alive, and yeah, they want more kills. Tribute, not really on their mind at this point. Greymane is being followed by Diablo, as Sonya kills Blaze, and Greymane might just get away here. He might make it. Talking about making it. In the meantime, we have the keep taking damage. And yeah, Greymin is still on the run. Buys a little bit of time. Well done, the fish. And he gives up on it. Decides that they need to salvage what's there to salvage in the mid lane and save that key. But of course, the curse is still being denied for now. But now we got level 20 on the board for them. So it's such a weird game. Oh, it really is. So for now, we got the Inner Fire, we got the Unleashed, we got the Fortified Bunker. Yeah, Hunter Hawk at the top still also trying to get them a little bit more experience. It's all about getting to level 20. So they are trying to avoid any kind of fight up to the point where they also have their level 20 abilities. And that's, yeah, the level that they gotta soak there. 5 kills, that's the gap right now, and damage numbers 43,000 to 36,000. Bit of a move towards the middle. I mean, at some point you really gotta capitalize on these advantages, and Team Kayak has been in the driver's seat for a long time, but they made some crucial mistakes, and if they continue that might cost them the game, and Murdered gets just murdered. Popped like a pimple. He gets bullied around a little bit, so they jumped in with level 20, and then Murden gets murdered by Fish, who just looks at him and is like, oh, ping pong. So he bullies him from one side to another, and I don't know, guys, but GTFO is getting some serious momentum now all of a sudden. They're finally level 20 themselves. The only one that hasn't died yet, by the way, is Greymane. And yeah, this is going to be wild. Ignore Pain, the invisible friends. And the blue team seems to be, yeah, they seem to be a little bit out of ideas. So the bot lane gets pushed a bit. Tribute, of course, gets taken. Boss is up in 37 seconds. Down at the bottom of the map, it's still a minute. So a boss battle could decide the game. But now you have to fight on even talents. And you have to fight for the next tribute, obviously, because whichever team takes it, takes the next curse. So it's kind of crazy. I mean, honestly, Kayak should have won this game already 2 times, at least. And then they screwed up massively without it being forced. That's the... Oh, random arrow. That's the crazy part around it. Like, both of the big mistakes that were made by Kayak were totally unforced. It was just rotational mistakes where they just didn't really pay attention. Again, one of those things where you're like, boys, quick coffee before the game, and that doesn't happen. But now GTFO has a real chance to bring this back. So let's see, we got Brightwing down. They have a 5 versus 4, but Meridian dies again, dude. Like, you can't just die like that. Now they get Hanzo, so it's a 4 versus 3. I assume they're going to make a play for the boss now. But Meridian, he has a little bit of a problem. I mean, he needs to be put on suicide watch. That's now the second time that he just goes for the YOLO solo, and it fully backfires. He died 4 times right now. So now they're making a play for the boss. Keep in mind, Gust is down, so that can't be used anymore. Fish is just bullying them as best as he can, but they lost Murden, so when it comes to sustain on the point, it's going to be a little bit tricky. There's the APOC. It's a 4 versus 3. Boss is still alive. Fish is in trouble. We got Greymin and Diablo both down. They're still trying for Link, and he's running away. The French defense once again successful. So he gets out. Master Chips with a quick stun is trying to survive, but Blaze gets killed. The boss at least has been taken. And now it's time for Anduin to die as well. They're going for the 5-man wipe, but they're not getting it. Wah, wah. Unlucky. That, on the other hand, is also kind of unlucky. Random curse, baby! Why is he canceling? 5 versus 2 on the map. Alright, alright, alright. So they can get pretty much both. Alright, fair enough. So they're timing this a little bit. Yeah, didn't really have to do it. But yep, here we are. So the curse is happening, and now they get the boss together with it. It is a really, really, really weird game. This is rough. So many situations where it was just back and forth and unforced errors. Now we have both of the teams with a pretty decent kill count, 25 in total at the 18-minute mark. But with Curse and Boss at the bot lane after 18 minutes, This is dangerous. This is really dangerous. They're also missing a few of their heroes still, so they can't even go and pre-damage the boss a little bit. Now that we have also seen the hard camp, the mercenaries taken here, the bruisers, means that the fort in the mid lane is definitely going to fall, and they are softening the wall up before the boss is even here. So this is looking pretty alright. Here comes the move, straight in for Tracer, who gets chunked down to 50%. This is dicey, boys, especially since Mardron also has an arrow still available. If he hits this one, then he can redeem himself a little bit for the ones we've seen earlier in the game, but he doesn't even have to because Muradin dies again. He hasn't hit a single arrow this game, I think. He goes again through everyone. To be honest, like, again, it doesn't really matter too much. I think they only wanted to kill Muradin. They already noticed that he has some suicidal tendency in this game. We see a constant Sudoku by him. He's committing Sudoku time and time again. I didn't know that he was such a math whiz, but apparently that's really a thing. But now that they're losing 3, Greymane and Blaze included, it seems like this game is over. I have no idea how the GTFOs turned this one, but I guess congratulations. A really, really special game as map number 1 ends and the red team claims victory on the first map of the series here, Division 1. GG. Before we head into game number 2, make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you haven't done it yet so you don't miss out on any future content here on Khaldor TV. Game number 2! Here we are! We are on Dragonshire, and well, the GTFOs have taken the lead. A couple of questionable decisions by Team Kayak after they had a very nice start into game number 1, but now they have an opportunity to bring this back and force the third map. We got Master Chips on Blaze, Arian on Hanzo, Razak, who apparently is a sub-player for Team Kayak. He's playing Muradin. We got Link on Brightwing, and Jhard is playing Chromie, the Chromester in the house. Soaking on the side of the GTFOs is playing Urel. We got Fish on Varian, Meme Blades incoming, Kappa. Mardron on Greymane, Claudestroy on Junkrat, and Hunter is playing Anduin. Alright, good map, I like it. Dragonshire was always a map that was pretty fun because of all of the... because of like all the control that you have to have in order to lock the objective in. So oftentimes, if you just can't sneak it somehow, it means you need to get a couple of kills before you can have proper control of everything here. We also got no real global. I mean, yes, they got Brightwing obviously, so Brightwing can really help you out, but as a side soak hero, she is pretty limited. It's not like it's the Haka or Falstad to have a much easier time burning these waves down. With Varian in the mix, the entire setup here is obviously designed to try and get kills once that he has his level 4, especially against some of the squishies. And they're already doing a number on Hanzo. Nicely done. Good follow-up also from Anduin here. That set the kill up for them. Urel is the one to get the final hit in. And that leads us off with the first kill for the red team. Yeah, game number 1 is over, so the warm-up is done with. I hope that in the meantime Team Kayak chucked down a coffee or two, because that was definitely needed. Muradin, he's on the prowl. The zoning Stormbolt comes out, and he has to retreat here, but of course the trade is also going to kick in. Camp's taken on both sides. A little bit of the early heroes by numbers playstyle that we have here. Just camp after camp, not risking too much. A couple of easy gank attempts. Nothing too crazy. Junkrat. It's a little bit low here, so be careful. If that Stormbolt at any point comes in and maybe Brightwing says hello, then a polymorph follow-up could mean the end of him. But we now have level 4, meaning the taunt is in, and off we go. Time to get some kills, or at least apply a bit of pressure on these lanes. Same time, the Boom Pow is in for Junkrat, but he's also facing off against 2 heroes at the bottom of the map and a camp, so a little bit too much for him to deal with. Brightwing is disgusting as usual, spits around on the map. And they're trying to go for Urel, but yeah, not quite. So not really a problem for Soaking. Can easily get out of harm's way. He went into the hand of freedom on level 4, the American Space Goat. Up at the top, they're still trying to force Blaze's hand a little bit. I mean, Muradin is taking over at the bottom of the map again. They got both of those shrines controlled for a few seconds, but nothing that really forced the issue on them. Yeah, but they go for Brightwing, and the Fruit Fly is dead. The combo between Varian and Greymane just a little bit too strong here in the earlier stages. I mean, again, it's one of the most true and tried comps ever. If you get a taunt Varian, then all that you need is a good damage dealer that follows up on your taunt. Ideally, of course, a support that can also lock the target down a little bit further. The traditional pick for that would be Malfurion, for example. But you can get so many others here that really, really help out and then just burst the target down. I mean, it has been played with Jaina, with Li Ming. In this case, it's Greymane. You can also follow up with a bit of displacement through Junkrat. It's all about coordination, and you're just properly playing this out with your teammates, coordinating and communicating it properly, and then you should be able to lock a few kills, and especially if you get like a flank and a gank against one of the squishies in the back. So yeah, really powerful, relatively easy to play compared with other comps, but of course this is still something where the opponent, if they position themselves correctly, can still screw with that quite a bit. But I mean, there's been a time where Bad Benny, for example, for the Hardos just played Variant over and over and over and over again for, I think, like 2 or 3 months or something like that. Soaking still able to escape up at the top, not really a problem for him. Has the Divine Steed here and is immediately jumping out. There's still pressure at the bottom of the map, and this time it's really the GTFOs that are completely running the show here. I mean, again, they won game number 1, but let's be honest, they really struggled at the beginning. There were multiple moments where Team Kayak could have pulled heavily ahead and just failed to do so and made mistakes that eventually cost them the game. But right now, GTFO, they do very well right from the start. Now, they recovered nicely on the first map, but here apparently the intention is to never let the blue team do their thing. So already they have 2 kills to 0, a half-level lead. They've nearly destroyed the bottom fort, and we still see them apply pressure on the lanes right now, with Urel at the top going up against Blaze in a one-on-one. The Junkrat now joining the fight down at the bottom of the map. They target Muradin again, and they really identified him as a little bit of a weak link here again. He seems to be a sub for the team, so obviously the coordination with the rest of the teammates is not as good, and for a frontliner that can be pretty tricky. Yeah, if you don't really know how to play with the rest of the team, what their cues are, and maybe the communication is suffering a little bit too, then it can be dicey. So he gets targeted a lot right now, and they're trying to just exploit that as ruthlessly as they possibly can. They have the early level 10 with the 3 kills to 0 now. Down at the bottom of the map, Hanzo gets caught. Doesn't stand a chance there either. Nice coordination once again too. Comes in with the light thingy, the light bomb, and they get a stun and a kill. And then, of course, the taunt towards the end. That was just, yeah, no way. But alright, it is what it is. So the blue team is now in the position where they have to be the ones to bring it back. Haven't gotten a kill yet. It's 4 kills to 0 right now. And the gap in experience is widening. So we have in the middle still, yeah, Muradin going for the zoning storm balls, but at least they got their level 10 now. Arrow, yeah, they connected, the bot lane is in. Can they get it? Dragonite is taken, so they snuck that in while the fight was raging on here. And the battle is starting up, heating up nicely. And it turns on Anduin. First blood for Team Kayak. Round of applause. Nicely done. Blondie kills Blondie. Chromie comes in and takes Anduin down. Right. And in the meantime, the Dragonite, even though it's an early one, is already doing some damage. A bit of an ass kicking for Chromie over here. I mean, she likes that stuff, as we know. It's true, it's a little bit on that side, but Urel gets out. The fort has nearly been destroyed. They got the first one, and oh, Stormbolt connect, yeah? Hoping to go for that, but he jumped in maybe a little bit too deep there. Didn't really expect to be met by this many targets. Now they are also hoping to isolate Blaze a little bit. Now the rest of the blue team is ready, but there's the light bomb. Forces the bunk out. They're trying to go for Muradin again. Yeah, Chromie with a bit of extra damage and an early ult also from Soaking, making sure that he's not the one that gets murdered. Instead, it's Hanzo that dies, and they're not quite done with this yet. They still have hopes of eliminating the second fort in the mid lane. 5 kills to 1. Ford about to go down, and the party continues. Good stun, but with a taunt, Blaze doesn't stand a chance anymore. He obviously doesn't have his ult any longer, already had to use it in the earlier fight. Now with only 3 heroes on the map, the pain train continues straight into the camp. The Bruiser camp gets taken. And yep, here we are. Level 13 talents, 5 kill lead, 1.5 levels, 2 forts down, and now they're trying to go for an additional kill. Yeah, there's the hit. Chromie, the arrow straight through the middle. Everybody on the blue team is helping out, but this fort is suffering, and this is the final one. There's a talent advantage, of course, as well. But yeah, this is a great game right now from the GTFOs. They're doing a fantastic job here. Definitely a little bit more coordinated than what happened in game number 1. So the warm-up game is clearly over. Team Kayak, yeah, it's a bit rough. Team Kayak was, I said it a little, I talked about it a bit in the first game, but it was always like the team, you know, that was just like on the verge of being maybe the next thing. But they've always fallen a little bit short. We've had a few teams like that, honestly. That we're really always trying to break into the top 4, the top 8, just on the verge of these cutoffs that you had for a lot of tournaments. And could still happen here. But alright, so level 13 is coming up next. The blue team can still bring this back, but it's going to be more and more difficult the more ground they lose here. Once that all of your forts are gone, that means you don't have a fountain anymore in these lanes that will help you to sustain yourself through fights around the shrines. So that makes it pretty tricky. As we have Urel taking the control over the top. There's another Dragon Knight theoretically up for grabs, and since they've now also taken the bottom Bruiser camp, there's even more pressure now on the lanes. So this is another problem, because as is, there has to be a reaction at the bottom of the map. Team Kayak has to eventually send somebody down there to defend the lane. Here comes the fight in the middle. Urel is sneaking it. Soaking is using his position to grab them another Dragon Knight. The team is just trying to survive here. It was a very, very good jet propulsion, and that really put them in trouble for a second. And it might even, yes, it results in a kill on Varian. The problem is that the Dragon Knight doesn't give a shit and moves in immediately to attempt and destroy the wall in the middle. Now keep in mind that they are nearly 2 levels ahead by now. There's also the camp at the bottom of the map that has done damage. Hasn't resulted in tower falling, but yeah, they are doing some work here. 10 minutes in, so these Dragon Knights are not that powerful just yet. But they are doing work. Opening those walls up a little bit. One tower is already down, second one has nearly been destroyed. And this isn't too bad. They're also closing on level 16, which is of course a very nice bonus on top of all of it, since it means that you're gonna run another talent advantage. And careful. Careful, my friend. Yeah, you don't want to run into 3-4 heroes here. With Varian in particular, they could very quickly spell your demise. So, yeah. We got the Banner of Dalaran and Smadron, Greymane coming in with the next camp that gets taken. That's the beauty of having a Greymane in your composition. Muradin gets taunted again. Varian just coming in. You're just a budget Gimli. And he gets massively mad about that. Doesn't want to be compared to him. So they turn it though. They take Junkrat down. Nice. So they get the kill. 3 kills to 6. Chromie with a timeout, like a naughty little schoolgirl, and might still fall here. Yeah, you're running into the wrong direction, bro. That's not gonna happen. Chromie is not making it. Took a little bit longer than expected, but she's down, and I don't think that Muradin will make it either. Yeah, Urel finally goes down, was trying to go up against 2. Muradin hoping to somehow escape them, but it's not going to be a thing. So yeah, they toy with him for just a second, and now he dies too. 9 kills to 4. Another camp up at the top. Hanzo is there trying to defend, but it's been already... They've been playing defense for the entire time here. And it's of course rough. The top fort might even fall against just the minions. Now with Blaze assisting, I think they can save it. But with Greymane still alive, they can easily take the bottom wall down. Unlikely that they can really do damage to the keep, or at least nothing properly significant. But opening this up is already a big first step. If they can claim another objective, then they have an open lane to go for the first keep of the game. And of course, with the additional camps that are now still on the map, they can also sneak some of those in and get an even bigger advantage. Hanzo's at 35,000, which all the poke damage that he can get in. And on top of that, we now have Graymin with the 27k to his name. Still the only one that hasn't died yet, so this is a bit of a theme that we had in both of the games. Graymin was the last one to fall. Now, top side, next objective has been announced. Shrines are up, so they can try and get another DK here. And of course, in the middle of the map, it's a trap. An Admiral Akbar moment right there. So they are hoping to claim one. Brightwing is still at the bottom of the map. Meridian, careful. He's baiting a little bit over here, but he can't go too deep, or he's going to be met by our boy Varian. Now they have control over the top shrine, and now with Soaking taking control at the bottom, they are focusing the entire attention of the blue team towards the middle, with the only exception being Blaze, as he's trying to take this back. He should... No, he doesn't have it. He got close, but the Dragonite still gets taken. 9 kills to 4, 19 to 17, and at the 13-minute mark, another Dragonite for the red team, which is, I believe, their 30k now? Oh, no! No, that hurts. Meridian is dead, and they got the Dragonite. Oh, that is bad timing. Chromie trying to go maybe for a kill here, but Anduin gets out. No problem for him. They're trying for the Chromie kill. She comes in with the timeout, but this is not happening either. So the Chromester also down 11 kills to 4. They're going to try for the 2-0 here. I mean, the lane is wide open. 2 heroes are dead. Dragonite is still alive. And then once Graymin pops out, they have, of course, even more damage through him. So with level 20 just around the corner, they're starting to make their move now. The shield about to be gone, and they are chunking it down. Storm Talons are here, and this should be all she wrote. Graymin coming in with the Hunter's Blunderbuss, tries for another kill, and murders Hanzo. And this is it, a 2-0 victory for the GTFOs in Division 1, ladies and gentlemen. So they're doing pretty well right now. One of the teams that finds themselves in the top 4 of the league at this point in time. And I'm pretty sure we're going to see them a bit more this season. But yeah, nicely done. Congratulations to the GTFOs as they take the 2-0 victory over Team Kayak.
Thank you everybody for watching the video today. I hope that you enjoyed the show and the commentary. And keep in mind that the spoiler protection that is going to run for the rest of the video is made possible by all the support on patreon.com. So guys, if you want to support my work, if you want to help me start new projects and keep the spoiler protection in place, please consider heading over to patreon.com/Khaldor. There's also a link in the YouTube description, and check that out. Thanks in advance, and see you guys next time with more esports coverage here on Khaldor TV. Have a great day.